Alright, so now we're gonna go to Katie's fandom.
Yeah. No,
this is totally not the same day as all the others.
No. So this is, as you can tell by how we're wearing totally different things.
I know, right? I got half the scarf now.
No, so this is DS9, and I found this a while ago, and it's a crossover with Harry Potter. But it is, like, the most pointless crossover ever, because it didn't really need to be a crossover. Because George Weasley's in it, but it didn't really need to be George Weasley at all.
It could have just been anybody.
And, yeah, and my friend and I quote from this a lot, and it's really great, because it's really terrible.
Awesome. And, oh god, I'm kind of scared for this. I just saw the title. It's called...
Puffeskins and Puffy Skin. Yeah, that's what, like, the first chapter's about.
This sounds disgusting.
It's not.
Just saying.
It's not disgusting. It's just about, it's whatever.
And by Frank Toadfish. Yo, Frank.
Sup?
Alright, let's get going. Chapter 1. Does it have a title? No, it's just chapter 1.
Too bad.
Oh, I'll lead off.
Sorry.
The crowded ship full of hitchhikers and stowaways docked in the landing bay, and the passengers spilled out, talking and laughing.
It's gonna be a... I have to do voices. It's going to be a long day. That's a terrible one. Oh my god, that's the worst.
Since I've seen
Okay, I guess I'm just going to have to give him a Batman voice.
Odo is now Batman.
Odo is just like Batman. It's going to be a long day. Odo said to Kira as they observed the odd collection of people from the promenade.
If they get out of control and you need more support, just call the ops, she replied. We don't want anyone injured like last time. Was there a last time? Odo nodded. Kira waved goodbye and walked towards the turbolist. Just as she reached it, the door slid open and Dr. Bashir stepped out. Bashir, right?
Yeah, Bashir.
Okay.
Oh, and just for the record, people watching this, I love DS9, so...
Mm-hmm. And I like it, I just haven't seen as much of it.
Yeah, just saying. Not like Twilight, which we don't like. Okay.
Clearly.
Morning, Major.
Bashir's British?
Yeah, he's British. Oh. He's British. And he's gorgeous.
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna completely disregard the voices and their characters, because I don't... Okay, anyway. Technically, it's afternoon. She smiled. Oh, God.
Great dialogue.
Dr. Bashir's face turned to a look of shock.
Afternoon! He rushed... He most competent doctor ever, am I right? He rushed past Kira, his long legs taking him across the promenade and into Quark's before she could ask him what was wrong. She shook her head and stepped into the lift. The tall, red-headed, freckled man detached himself from a group of rather drunk Klingons that were slurring insults at him, and stepped out onto what looked like a brightly lit shopping center. Is this... This is not Bashir. No, obviously. This is George. Obviously. Sorry, I didn't know if you remembered what he looked like. No, this is George. Yeah, but, no, I was just like, because I didn't know. There's no transition, okay. Which is weird. That threw me off. Okay, sorry. As he walked along, admiring the lights and the architecture, he spied some kind of bar. Why not, he thought. Space bar. But, Katie Deeble, everybody. I'm here all night. Why not, he thought, and walked in, seating himself next to a heavily built, warty-looking man. He set his rucksack down on the empty seat next to him, which squealed as it hit the chair. The rucksack, I guess. It's a screaming rucksack. The large gray man looked at him curiously. Hey, the redhead called to who he presumed is a bartender. Do you have any butterbeer? The Ferengi looked at him. I'm not sure. I'll ask my brother. He shuffled comically over to a creature who looked similar to him. Brother? What? Asked Quark, annoyed. Do we sell butterbeer? The more loudly dressed Ferengi looked confused. I've never heard of it, he said. Who ordered? Rom pointed to the ginger man with the big old-fashioned bag. Quark walked over to him. What's your name, then? The man stared. George, he said. George Weasley. What brings you to DS9, George? George sighed. My business is falling apart. After my brother died, our shop turned into getting the customers. Stopped getting the customers. Wow. So I packed some stock, did a little magic, and ended up on a spaceship full of nobodies like me. Quark looked at him. Wow. I want to know what magic spell causes this, like, this teleportation to another time period out in space. Maybe he's a Time Lord? A magical Time Lord? He also don't insult the bartender. He didn't, did he? Full of nobodies like me. He called him a nobody. No, like me. Yeah, no. He's talking about himself. He's on a spaceship full of nobodies like him. He's not on the spaceship anymore, though. Oh, duh. Because I guess he got off the spaceship with hitchhikers or whatever. I think that was sort of vaguely implied. Whatever. Oh, I thought he was just, like, on the space station. No, they're on the station, yeah. I guess he got off the ship. Okay. Whatever.
I missed that. I thought he was just there. Okay.
You own business. You're in business. That's not George. I hate it. Okay, can I just say I hate it so much when people will say quotes of something one person is saying, but then make the reaction of the other person on the same line, so you think they're the one saying it?
Yeah.
So you think you're in business, George nodded. Make much profit? George is not saying that. Clark is saying that.
Yeah. Ugh. Not really. British accent. Anyway. Not really, said the young man. Like I said, no one's interested in what I've got to sell.
I might be, Quark said with a greedy look in his eyes. Show me what you've got.
George leaned over to his rucksack and unzipped it. Several high-pitched squeaks came from inside. What has he got in there? Okay.
Puffskins.
Several high-pitched squeaks came from inside as he put his hand in and took out a fluffy pink wriggling ball of stuff. Quark screamed. Get out of here now, you one-eared freak! You better leave, Rom warned him. He doesn't like to...
But George had already left. Okay, so he thinks they're tribbles. Whatever. Oh, and now they're not transitioned to the different scene.
Dr. Bashir watched the scene at Quark's from a secluded corner. A synthale?
Yeah. It's like alcohol, except it doesn't get you drunk.
Oh. Then.
I don't know.
A synthale clutched in his hands. He couldn't believe how stupid he had been.
Miles had booked a holosuite for both of them. 1,100 hours on Saturday, he told Julian in my terrible Irish accent. And Dr. Bashir had promised him that he would be there. Because Chief O'Brien was going on a 2-week-long mission to the Gamma Quadrant at 1,400 hours that same day, and Julian hadn't woken up until 14:30. Which, for the record, is 2:30 in the afternoon. The fuck was he doing the last night?
Partying?
I guess. Partying, yay. He swore, annoyed at his body clock, which is super fucked up. Annoyed at Captain Sisko for arranging these stupid expeditions. Annoyed at himself.
Perhaps he could buy Miles... Wait. Oh, Julian... Oh, there was no transition. I thought Miles... Okay. I just can't follow this story.
It's that great.
Perhaps he could buy Miles a gift to make it up to him, and then invite him round to his quarters and make it up some more when he got back.
If you know what I mean.
Oh, God, really?
Yes. So Miles Julian fanfic. I'm sorry I didn't mention that.
Julian wondered what Miles would really like. Wait, but Miles... Oh. Keiko...
Keiko and Miles' wife. That's why I just...
No. Oh, this is just... Keiko had acted strangely towards him for a week after he gave the chief some new pajamas. Well, that's weird.
That's a weird present.
That wasn't a very sensible move. Well...
No, it wasn't, dear. As the man with the large rucksack on his back ran out of the bar, Julian had a brainwave. He could buy Miles one of those things.
A rucksack?
It looked fluffy and cute, and Julian knew Miles liked cute.
A cute rucksack? Or a cute man with a rucksack?
The things inside it.
You know, because those weren't mentioned at all.
Yeah, not really.
Dr. Bashir ran like a sprinter for the second time in an hour, and caught up with the gloomy-looking man who was rubbing one side of his head where an ear should have been.
George! What the fuck? How did you hear their conversation? Dr. Bashir cried. George looked around to see who was calling his name and stopped walking. Can I buy one of those creatures?
George looked doubtful. I don't know. The bartender was really scared of them. Maybe they're not worth selling.
Can I have a look? Asked Julian. George reluctantly opened the bag, which emitted delighted squeals. He pulled out a yellow, considerably bigger fluffy thing. Julian's eyes widened.
You're selling tribbles?
They're called Puffeskins, George told him. They don't need feeding, they love attention, and to be honest, they don't mind being beaten up either. He threw the Puffskin roughly to the floor. It bounced and landed in George's arms, squealing happily. Julian grinned.
Have you got one in blue?
And another non-transition. Chief O'Brien walked along the corridor to Julian's quarters. He'd received a message that was waiting for him from the doctor, telling him he had a surprise waiting. The chief pressed the button on the side of the door and it bleeped.
Come in, Julian called, and Miles entered. Wow.
Julian, where were you? He asked him, then looked at him suspiciously. What's that behind your back?
I enjoy your accents. I'm just not even trying.
Yeah, mine's like...
I don't know what they're supposed to be. Okay. Julian grinned seductively. It's my makeup gift to you, to say sorry. Miles sighed.
Is it your penis?
It doesn't say that.
But she's hiding behind his back.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry, I'm horrible. I didn't think that through. Anyway, you didn't have to do that.
Hold out your hands.
I have now ruined it, yes.
Hold out your hands, Julian instructed him. Miles did. Now close your eyes.
Julian walked over and placed the fluffy blue creature in Miles's cupped hands and kissed him lightly on the lips. Miles opened his eyes.
You got me a tribble?
Puffskin, actually.
Julian replied, "Don't you like it?" Miles looked at him worriedly.
I should have told you before that I'm achoo!
He sneezed violently.
Sorry. He sneezed violently, dropping the Puffskin onto Julian's sofa. It squeaked appreciatively and rolled back and forth along the sofa, humming happily to itself.
Allergic to tribbles. He finished. Julian put his arm around him.
I thought tribbles were extinct.
Doesn't stop me being allergic to them. The engineer snapped at him. The doctor looked upset.
Sorry, Miles apologized. Thanks anyway. It was nice of you to get me something. The doctor looked concerned.
Miles, your face, he murmured.
What about it? Chief O'Brien asked.
It's gone all puffy. We'll have to get you to the infirmary. I'll give you the antidote, even if it's not serious, just in case we meet any more in this future.
If they're extinct, why is there an antidote?
I don't know.
Do I look like Dax if I'm... Oh, wait. Miles felt his face, which was swollen rapidly and was now blotchy with blue spots.
Do I look like Dax if I'm spotty?
No, Julian grinned. Your tribble spots are much cuter. I don't...
You see, that was stupid. But the stupidest parts of the story are yet to come.
Are you serious? Alright, on to chapter 3.
2.
God, I wanted it to... Feels...
I guess this chapter looks shorter.
Alright.
Chief O'Brien whistled as he repaired the replicator in Captain Sisko's quarters on board the Defiant. It was the end of the day, almost a week after the Tribble incident, and Miles felt much better.
Ah, Chief, Captain Sisko said as he entered the room. How are you doing?
Almost done here, Miles said and pressed a button on one of his gizmos. There, he announced as the replicator powered up. Finished.
Good work, Chief, Sisko said as Miles began to pack up his tools. Are you feeling alright? Keiko told me you had an allergic reaction to something you ate.
Oh, that's right, said Miles quickly. Can I go now?
Yes, you may. Thank you, Chief. Miles left the captain's quarters and sighed with relief. Oh, that was thrilling.
I know, right? Non-transition. The sound of the spin of the Daba wheels and the drunken cries of laughter from Quarks seeped out into the promenade on the busy Saturday night. Visitors and residents of the station in multicolored clothes walked by, basking in the freedom of their leisure time. Only one glum face spoiled the overall good mood.
God, George, seriously.
Sulking
You're
away.
supposed to be... George Weasley sat hunched up on a corner of the promenade, his ancient-looking rucksack resting beside him. Two giggling Bajorans staggered past the man, laughing at the hole in the side of his head.
They would not do that!
The bag next to the young man attempted to copy the noise, and George brought his fist down onto it sharply. It made a noise like air escaping from a balloon.
Oh, shut up, he muttered.
Excuse me, came the slow, sarcastic voice of the station's chief of security.
Oh, well, see, now you can do your Batman impression, because it's Odo again.
I don't have a Batman impression.
Fine.
Odo looked down at the miserable figure with disgust. I can try. What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know when he turned into Batman either, but I love it.
What are you doing down there? It's not even Batman. That's just awful. This is what's gonna happen. George glanced up at the constable in the thick beige uniform and scowled.
What does it look like?
You're either sulking or hiding, Odo replied. Didn't I see you arrive off that transport craft on Sunday evening?
So what if I did? George retorted. I've got every right to be here.
He's Irish now?
Apparently. It's just going all over the place.
That depends, Odo said. You look as though you've been living rough. He held out a hand to the man. George took it and stepped up.
I suppose you want me to leave, then? He grumbled as he picked up the rucksack and put it onto his back.
Actually, we do have a policy that states visitors traveling without Odo began, but a voice interrupted him.
George, are you okay? Dr. Bashir emerged from Quarks, a racquetball racket in his hand.
Why does he know George?
Well, why is the trouble from
Dr. Bashir and sometimes not.
Julian is his first name.
Yeah, I know, but it's just...
yeah, they're doing that. Yeah, I don't like that.
Oh, hey, whatever your name is, George replied indifferently. Julius or something, right?
Julian. The doctor corrected him with a smile. Odo, you're not arresting him, are you?
No, Odo frowned. Should I be? God, this voice is probably terrible.
It's wonderful.
No,
I don't know. I can't do the Odo voice anyway, so...
I don't know. Oh, Julian looked at George.
Why don't we talk for a bit? You look like you could need a friend. George returned the look gratefully.
Okay, bye, Odo.
Oh, do. Can't you say Odo? Like it's really not that weird of a name.
He followed Dr. Bashir across the promenade. Odo rolled his eyes.
Humanoids. Humanoids.
Batman! Worf and Miles stepped out onto the promenade, Miles having just finished the Defiance maintenance checks and Worf leaving his full-time quarters for an evening out.
Worf does not have evenings out, you guys. I still do not understand your obsession with holosuite battle programs where you have no chance of winning, Worf said. Miles laughed.
Don't worry, Worf. It's just a theme that Julie and I specialize in.
Talking of Dr. Bashir, Worf said as they escaped the noisiest part of the promenade and slowed down. Isn't that his racket?
Sorry, I just have a sock. I don't know. I don't know.
We need props.
Oh, God. Miles looked down where Worf was pointing. Yeah, it is. He bent down and picked it up. Do you want to wait for me at Quark's? I'll go and give this to him.
I'll come with you, Worf insisted, but Miles shook his head.
Nah, go on. It won't take long. Worf frowned momentarily, but acknowledged Miles' request and walked back towards the promenade.
Chief O'Brien remained stationary until he was sure Worf was out of sight, and then turned right and walked into one of the corridors leading off the promenade. It was deserted. He took a quick look behind him to see if he was being watched, and then pulled back a panel in the wall. A red light blinked back at the chief, and he smirked.
He tapped 2 buttons in the left-hand corner of the hollowed-out section. It's an interesting description. Just before he pressed a third, he thought that the doctor was taking a bit of a risk, leaving his lacket just outside the hidden room.
Sure, Chief O'Brien knew he was there, but he didn't know how many other people knew about the roomy storage locker he discovered about a year ago. Science story, stupid. He told Julian, obviously. They had used it once or twice together when the holosuits were fully booked. But secrets were never safe on DS9, especially not when Garrick and Odo were around.
Seriously? You bring the closet.
They've got a closet.
Oh my gosh! He pressed the 3rd button and a door swung open. Miles stepped inside and shut the door behind him. His mouth opened in fury as he saw Julia and George locked in a gentle but strong kiss. Arms around each other's waists.
You bastard! He growled and the two broke apart.
Miles, it's not what you think, Julian started to say, but the chief yelled at him.
How would it not be what he thinks? I was totally not just making out with somebody else.
Oh, good. I thought you were...
Totally making out with someone else.
I was going to say something totally random. I thought you were making a sandwich. God, that has innuendo, but... Okay.
I was making a sandwich. Okay. You made me cheat on my wife for you. Hanging around in ops, flirting with me, taking me to the holosuites every weekend, telling me how you love me, and then you go and do this. You've ruined my life!
George burst into tears. I guess, yeah.
This is terrible.
Julia looked at Miles with disgust.
The kid was upset, Miles. He's lost his twin brother, his business, half his friends, and you accuse me of ruining your life just because I comforted him. You're so ashamed that you're bisexual. You can't see that there are others that are out there like you who are lonely and hurt.
Miles sighed. I'm sorry, Julian. I guess I was just jealous. Oh, God, is there a threesome coming?
No.
Okay.
Thank fucking God. This is so stupid. Why are you apologizing? It's his fault. Okay. You guess? Miles, you were the one who was avoiding me. Of course you were jealous. Julian replied, not nastily, but correctly. Say sorry to George as well. See how this doesn't make any fucking sense?
Miles looked at George. His eyes were red and puffy. Sorry, George.
How is any of this Miles' fault? He did not react out of turn, you guys.
No.
That's okay. George sniffed. I copied Fred for so long, I became like a copy of him. I forgot the twins. The twins were 2 separate people. And now he's gone, I'm finally beginning to be myself. He stood up shakily.
I forgot that twins were 2 separate people? God, no wonder George is my least favorite Weasley twin. He is, for real. Chief O'Brien took his arm and Dr. Bashir took the other. See, now they're not Miles and Julian anymore. They're Chief O'Brien and Doc.
Yeah,
Just be consistent! They climbed out of the storage cupboard and the chief shut the door.
Don't tell anyone about this, will you? He asked George. George smiled weakly.
The cupboard or your relationship?
Both, said Julian.
It's okay, George replied. I'm going home on the next transport. I'll be back on Earth in the past before you can say racquetball.
How?
He just is.
Won't you need your bag? Chief O'Brien inquired.
No, George grinned, his long-gone happiness return. Why is he suddenly happy? Returning. I left it under that security chief's desk. All it had in it was, well, let's just hope he's not allergic to fluff.
Actually, he's not, because he can't even breathe. And he likes tribbles.
He does? He does not seem like the kind of person who
does.
like fluffy things.
It's hilarious. Of course, he's exactly the sort of person who would like fluffy
All right.
things.
Chapter 3.
Almost over. The sound of the dermal regenerator buzzed softly as Dr. Bashir healed the wound on the Klingon's cheek.
Just promise me, Worf, that you'll never practice fighting when you're half asleep again.
Worf looked. You just know Jadzia, like, pulled a knife on him in bed. It's probably what happened, except she's not in this story, whatever. Worf was I? Okay. Worf looked up at him from the bed in the infirmary. I don't promise, Doctor, but I will take your concern as advice. I had rather too much blood wine last night.
Oh, the doctor questioned. Celebrating, were you?
Not exactly. The Klingon rubbed his forehead with the tips of his fingers. Chief O'Brien came round. He was quite upset. Julian stopped the regenerator suddenly, and Worf looked at him.
What?
Nothing, Julian said, and moved the dermal regenerator to another gash in Worf's shoulder. Did he tell you what he was upset about?
It's none of your business, what he said, Worf replied in his usual low tone of voice, but he didn't say much. He just drank a bottle and a half of my blood wine and then passed out. I had to get Keiko to come round and take him home.
I'm trying to imagine how Keiko would be better at dragging Miles back to his quarters than you. You're about twice your size. Anyway. Dr. Bashir was silent as he inspected Worf for any more cuts and bruises. When he could find no more, he put the regenerator away and helped the Klingon to his feet.
Just take it easy for a few days. You'll be fine.
Thank you, Doctor, Worf said, and walked out of the infirmary, limping slightly. The doctor sat down at his desk and rested his head in his hands, elbows propped up on the cold metal surface.
Julian. There we go. Your turn.
Sorry. The voice behind him was instantly recognizable, but something else was entwined with it. Bitterness, anger, misery. Julian could not tell what it was. He looked around and saw the engineer. Although it was only late morning, Miles looked like he had been working all day. There were gray shadows under his eyes, which were struggling to keep themselves open, and his skin had a sickly white tinge to it.
Miles, you look awful.
The chief winced. Please don't shout. My head is killing me. Julian walked over to one of the medical cabinets and began to mix up some chemicals. Just some random chemicals. He poured them into a glass and handed it to Miles. The engineer hesitated, but drank it anyway in a couple of mouthfuls. He shuddered.
Yeah, I should have hesitated. It's probably just poison or something. Better?
A bit. Look, Julian, we need to talk.
Julian sighed. About yesterday evening? The chief nodded.
You hurt me, Julian. The doctor looked at him guiltily. He went to touch the chief on his face. Miles stepped back. No, I can't see. So the doctor's hand was left in midair. He withdrew it, ashamed.
We need to talk, O'Brien repeated. He's O'Brien now. I don't... Just stop. Just don't do that.
Chief and Miles and O'Brien.
In private.
And one guy. At least they're not calling them the Irishman and the Brit or something.
But I don't know who they are enough for them to change. This could very easily just be about 3 different people. For each of them. Okay.
Oh, I was supposed to actually read my line. Where do you suggest we go? Julian asked quietly. The chief glared at him.
Not in the cupboard, if that's what you're thinking. Never again.
If you go back to my quarters, Julian said, but caught the angry look from the chief's eyes. Bad idea, sorry.
Come with me to Quark's. We can use a holosuite, Miles said. The tone of his voice was clearer now that he had started to recover from his hangover. It was full of anger.
But it's only about 1,200 hours, Julian protested. I've got to work, and so have you. Miles glared at him furiously.
Now, Julian! He took the young doctor by the wrist and dragged him roughly out of the infirmary.
They are so irresponsible. He's the chief engineer, okay? And Julian is the chief medical officer. They need to actually do their fucking jobs. Rather than have spats. Okay, anyway. The holosuite transferred the program Miles had chosen into the room. This is the great part. A gray empty sky appeared above them. A thick layer of dry sand spread out beneath their feet, stretching across to the horizon. The air was cold, and nothing moved except the doctor and the engineer.
Miles sat down on the desert floor, sand invading.
That's a great line. Invading an onslaught.
Miles sat down on the desert floor, the sand invading his shoes and socks. He waved his hand at Julian, who was staring at the dead landscape around them, and beckoned him to sit down.
Miles, Julian said softly, what is this place? Oh no, you get the great line.
Okay. This. I can't do it. This, answered Miles. I gotta do it without smiling. Sorry, gonna do this. How's this? This, answered Miles, is what my heart looks like. This, answered Miles, is what my heart looks like when you do what you did yesterday.
Could you be a teenage girl anymore?
Julian looked like he wanted to cinder. Julian looked like he wanted to sink into the sand and disappear.
Dead and cold?
Miles nodded, most of his anger seeping away in the still atmosphere. He laid down in the sand, facing the lifeless sky. Julian copied him, but tilted his head to look at the chief.
What about Keiko? You love her. Surely your heart's not as empty as this.
I do love Keiko, Miles replied, but my
you know not enough to not fucking cheat on her.
But my love for her isn't here. This is my heart for I'm sorry. This is my heart for you. The heart that no one knows about. The heart none of your bloody medical equipment can see or measure. Oh
Alright,
my god.
I understand, said Julian. I don't. That's why you don't mind it when I date women, but as soon as I kiss a man, he stopped.
My heart died. My heart dies. Miles finished. But even when you do go out with women, I'm still a little bit jealous. Julian smiled faintly.
Like when I see you with Keiko, he murmured. And your fucking children! Sorry. The doctor moved closer to the chief, edging himself along the heavy grainy sand. When his head touched Miles's curly hair, the engineer didn't flinch or move away.
I'm really sorry, Julian apologized and took the engineer's hand, holding it tight. Miles turned over to face him.
I forgive you, he said.
Their lips met, and as they kissed, the sun emerged from the cold gray sky and shone down upon the desert. A spring of water spilled out from the ground. It drenched the two men. Oh!
I don't think that's what the author
It drenched the two men, washing away their suffering and bringing with it a fresh start.
Except he's still cheating on his wife,
oh.
with whom he has produced 2 children.
Oh.
Although I don't know when this is happening in the show, so maybe just 1. Isn't
God.
it magnificent?
Oh my god. I'm sorry, I just have to again. This is what my heart looks like when you do what you did yesterday.
Okay, that's what Haley and I quote. We quote, cold and dead, Julian! Cold and dead! And you made me cheat out! I cheated on my wife for you, damn it!
Oh my god.
This is what my heart looks like when you did what you did yesterday.
This is what my heart looks like.
Dead.
This is what it looks like when I have to read This is what it looks like when you make me have to read such inanity.
Yes, but it was magnificent, was it not?
Cold? Well, that's because my window's open. I should probably close that.
So, that was great.
That was wonderful.
Again, it wasn't so badly written you couldn't read it, but it was just really stupid.
Wow, that took half an hour.
Oh my god.
Well.
We read slowly. I think because a lot of times we were just like, this is dumb. Batman voice.
Ugh.
Odo totally talks like this all the time. I'm Odo. I love you, Kira. I've always loved you. Okay, anyway.
I want to be able to reference things too.
No, I don't know. That's not even a quote. I just kind of made that up.
I know, but I
When should we start watching it?
Like right now.
Like right now. We should.
We're gonna go watch DS9 instead of reading
DS9. We'll read
fanfics.
more some other time though, because this is way too much fun to. The fuck? Because this is way too much fun to not do again.
Alright, yeah. Faux shiz. We'll do this. This needs to be a happening.
Bye.
Bye.
Pound it.
Choose.
Oh my god, I love us.
Oh, we are.